It was a quiet morning in Willow Creek. The sun was rising, birds were singing, and everything looked peaceful. Mr. Dalton, a kind old garbage man, was doing his usual route. He had been collecting trash in the neighborhood for 20 years. He waved at the kids, smiled at the mailman, and hummed a soft tune as he worked. Then something strange happened. As he turned onto Maple Lane, something small and fast ran out from between two houses. It was a little boy, no more than 8 years old. He was barefoot, wearing pajamas, and his face was wet with tears. His arms were scraped, and his legs were shaking. Before Mr. Dalton could react, the boy threw himself in front of the garbage truck, waving his arms wildly. "Stop! Please stop!" the boy screamed. Mr. Dalton hit the brakes hard, tires screeching. The truck stopped just inches away from the boy. Dalton jumped out of the truck. Hey, are you okay? What happened? Are you hurt?" The boy looked up at him, his eyes wide with fear. "They're not my parents," he said in a whisper. "They're not human." Dalton blinked. "What do you mean, son? What are you talking about?" The boy pointed toward a neat, quiet house down the street. It had a white fence, flower pots, and a blue door. "That house," the boy said, "they took my real parents. The people in there, they wear their skin." Dalton stepped back. He wasn't sure what to say. Was the boy imagining things? Had he run away from home? But then the boy grabbed his hand tightly and said, "Please, they're going to hurt someone else. They're not real. I heard them say it. They have a basement full of things." Dalton pulled out his phone with shaking hands and called 911. "I've got a boy here," he told the operator. "Says he's in danger. Says his parents aren't real. I don't know what's going on, but something's not right." The operator took it seriously. Within 5 minutes, the entire street was locked down. Police cars surrounded the house. Officers stepped out wearing body armor and carrying high-grade weapons. Neighbors peeked through their curtains, whispering and worried. No one had ever seen anything like this on their street before. The boy was taken into the back of an ambulance. A kind female officer sat with him, asking gentle questions. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "My name is Micah," the boy said. "And they're not my real mom and dad. They're just pretending." Meanwhile, the police moved in. 4 officers carefully approached the Blue Door house. Everything looked normal. No signs of forced entry. The garden was trimmed. A toy dog sat on the porch. They knocked. No answer. One officer tried the doorknob. It was unlocked. They entered with caution. The living room was spotless. Too spotless. The walls were plain, the furniture clean. A fake fire burned on a TV screen. But there were no signs of life. No dishes, no shoes, no photos on the wall. "It's like a model house," one officer whispered. "Like no one actually lives here." Then they heard footsteps. A man and a woman stepped into the room. Both looked calm. Too calm. "Can we help you, officers?" The woman asked with a smile. "We need to ask you a few questions," one officer said. "There's a child outside who says he lives here. Is that your son?" "Yes," the man said slowly. "Micah is our boy, but he has trouble sometimes. He sees things that aren't real." One officer looked closer at the couple. Their skin, it looked smooth. Too smooth. Plastic-like. And their voices, robotic. Suddenly, the woman blinked, and her eyes moved sideways like a reptile. The lead officer gasped. "Get down," she shouted. Before anyone could react, the woman lunged. She moved fast, too fast for a human. She grabbed one officer by the throat and threw him across the room like a toy. Shots rang out. The man tried to run but was tackled and pinned. As he hit the ground, part of his face tore like rubber, revealing wires underneath. Outside, the boy sat in the ambulance, hugging his knees. He whispered, I told them they weren't real." Mr. Dalton stood nearby, his face pale. One officer came out of the house, breathing hard. "She screamed when we saw what was inside." Dalton stared. What was in there? The officer looked at him. Something not from this world. Police sirens still echoed through the quiet neighborhood. Families watched from their windows, trying to understand what had just happened. The calm street had turned into a war zone. Inside the house with the blue door, the scene was like something from a horror movie. The woman, if she was a woman, had been restrained after a wild struggle. Her body looked human, but her strength was inhuman. Now, zip-tied and motionless, she lay on the kitchen floor. Her skin was torn in places, revealing silver wires, blinking lights, and dark, strange fluid that oozed like black ink. "Is she a robot?" one officer whispered. "No," said the lieutenant, who had just arrived. "Something else. Something we've never seen." The man, who claimed to be Micah's father, had been placed in a metal van. He wasn't speaking anymore, but when officers scanned his body for identification, they found something horrifying. He didn't have fingerprints. Back in the ambulance, little Micah stared at the house in silence. A detective named Rosa sat beside him. "You were very brave today, Micah," she said gently. "Can I ask you something?" Micah looked at her, his voice small but steady. "You want to know about the basement?" Rosa froze. "Yes," she said. "Is that where they kept your real parents?" Micah shook his head. "I don't know if they're still there," he said. "But that's where they took people. I heard them talk about it. They said the basement wasn't part of the house. They said it's a gate." Rosa frowned. "A gate to where?" Micah whispered, "Where they're from." Inside the house, the officers found the door to the basement hidden behind a sliding panel in the hallway. No one had seen it before. It blended into the wall perfectly. No hinges, no handle, just smooth wood. Micah was right, one officer muttered. They were hiding something. They used a crowbar to force it open. Behind the door was a long staircase made of metal, spiraling deep into the ground. There were no lights, just darkness. The lead team geared up, flashlights, weapons, backup. As they descended, the air grew cold. The stairs creaked under their boots. The walls were made of some kind of black stone, smooth and icy. After 10 minutes, they reached a large steel door. A strange symbol was carved into it, like an eye, but sideways, with sharp edges and dots. "What is this place?" someone whispered. They opened the door slowly. What they saw inside made one of the officers drop his flashlight and scream. It was a lab. Huge, alien machines lined the walls. Green lights blinked. Tubes full of strange liquid stretched from floor to ceiling. Inside, some of them were humans, or what was left of them. One looked like a woman in her 30s. One looked like a teenager. One looked exactly like Micah's mom, said the officer, his voice shaking. The real one. Above the machines, a screen flickered to life. Words appeared in a strange language, then changed into English. "Welcome to Outpost 9. Collection complete." Suddenly, the machines began to hum. One of the officers pulled out a camera and started recording. "We have proof," she said. "This isn't just a crime scene. It's something bigger." Back upstairs, Micah was staring at the sky. He pointed. "There," he said softly. "They're watching." Rosa looked up. A strange dot blinked in the sky. Then another. Then 3 more. "Drones?" she asked. Micah shook his head. "No, they're calling for help. From up there." The house began to shake. Officers ran out. The ground beneath the house began to crack. "Evacuate," someone yelled. Suddenly, a loud sound came from the basement, like metal tearing and engines roaring. The steel door inside the basement slammed shut on its own, trapping the officers inside. "No," someone screamed. "We're locked in." Micah stood up from the ambulance and looked at Rosa. "They're not done," he said. "This was just one house." The garbage man, Mr. Dalton, stood nearby, shaking his head. "What are they?" he asked. "What do they want?" Micah turned slowly. "They're replacing us," he said. "One family at a time." The camera footage from the basement was sent to Homeland Security. But by the time agents arrived, the house was gone. All that remained was a square of dirt, fresh and dark, like something had been pulled straight out of the earth. There were no signs of fire, no broken wood, no smoke. Only a small red marble was left behind, sitting in the center of the empty ground. Detective Rosa picked it up and turned it in her fingers. It was warm. It pulsed softly. "What is this?" she whispered. Micah stepped forward, his small face serious. "That's how they leave messages," he said. "That's how they talk to each other." Rosa crouched down. "Talk to who?" "The others," Micah said quietly. "They're everywhere, all over the country. They pretend to be people, but they're not." Mr. Dalton, the garbage man, stood behind them, still shaken. He had seen many things in his life, but never a child run into the street crying for help from machines wearing human skin. Rosa called her captain. "We lost the house," she said. "Completely vanished. But listen, Captain, this goes deeper than anything I've seen. We found living people, possibly victims, trapped in some kind of alien tech. Officers went missing in the basement. And now it's just gone." "Bring in Homeland," her captain replied. "We're shutting down the whole neighborhood. No one leaves, no one enters, until we know what's going on." By 9 a.m., black vans with no logos began pulling in. Agents in dark suits moved quickly. They questioned everyone on the street. Drones circled the sky. Police tape was stretched across every corner. One neighbor, an old woman who lived across the street, tried to explain what she saw before the house disappeared. "I heard a loud humming sound," she said. "Then light, bright green light. And then, whoosh, the whole house was gone like it was never there." Back in the mobile command van, Rosa placed the red marble into a small evidence box. But before she could seal it, the marble began to spin. It lifted slightly off the table. Everyone froze. A soft voice came from it, not a human voice. It was metallic, cold, and too calm. "This sector is compromised. Extraction complete. Phase 2 begins." Micah's eyes widened. "That means they're moving to the next family." Dalton turned pale. "Here? In this town?" Micah nodded slowly. "They don't just take random people," he said. "They take people who no one will miss right away. Lonely people. Quiet homes. They pretend to be them." Rosa leaned closer. "You said they're everywhere. How do you know?" Micah pulled a folded paper from his pocket. It looked like a child's drawing. But when he opened it, Rosa gasped. It was a map. Red dots were drawn across different towns. At the center, circled 3 times, was a place called Red Pine. "What's Red Pine?" Rosa asked. "That's where it started," Micah said. "That's where they built the first gate." Rosa stared at the map. "Why didn't you tell us this before?" Micah looked away. "Because I didn't know who to trust." Suddenly, a scream came from outside the van. Agents rushed toward the noise. A man was running down the sidewalk, blood dripping from his hands. My wife isn't my wife anymore," he shouted. Officers followed him into his home. Inside, a woman sat at the kitchen table, smiling too calmly. Her eyes didn't blink. When they asked her to stand, she didn't move. When they asked her name, she gave a different one every time. Then she said something strange. "You cannot stop evolution. You are already the past." Her neck twitched. Then her eyes turned black. Back in the command van, Rosa looked at the growing list of strange reports. People vanishing, strange behavior, skin tearing open to reveal wires, unknown symbols drawn in basements. It wasn't a one-time event. It was a pattern. And Micah, he was the only child to escape. Micah stood frozen beside her. "That's it," he whispered. "That's where it all began." "Where is Red Pine?" Rosa asked, turning to one of the agents nearby. Agent Carter, who had been quietly listening, frowned. "That's the thing," he said. "There's no such town in our database. No Red Pine in this state, not in the country either." Micah shook his head. "It was real. My parents were taken there before they vanished. But when I told other adults, they all said the same thing, that it didn't exist." "Could it be a code name?" Rosa asked. "Or something hidden," Carter added. Another agent rushed into the van holding a tablet. "You need to see this," he said, breathless. He tapped the screen. Satellite images appeared. In the forest near the state border, there was a blank patch, miles of land completely blacked out. No data, the agent said. No houses, no roads, not even trees. But we checked local files. An old map from 40 years ago does list a settlement there. You guessed it, Red Pine. Rosa leaned forward. So it was wiped from the system. Agent Carter nodded slowly. Whatever they're hiding there, they don't want us to see it. Dalton, the garbage man, who had stayed with Micah this whole time, clenched his fists. We can't just sit here. That boy ran out into the street begging for help. He saw things no child should see. If Red Pine is where it all started, we need to go there. Micah looked up, nervous. If you go, they'll know. They watch everything. Let them watch, Rosa said. They've already taken people from our streets. It's time we take the fight to them. 2 hours later, 3 black SUVs moved quietly along a back road that didn't appear on any GPS system. Rosa, Carter, Dalton, and a few armed agents sat in the lead vehicle. Micah sat between Dalton and Rosa, holding tightly onto a worn-out backpack. Inside was the red marble. And something else. A small metal cube he had never shown anyone until now. My real dad gave me this before he disappeared, he whispered. He said it could shut the gates, if used right. Rosa looked down at the cube. There were no buttons, no lights, just alien symbols etched into it like tiny scratches. Do you know how it works? Micah shook his head, but maybe they do. As the cars approached the area marked Red Pine, their radios went dead. Phones lost signal. The air grew thick. And then, they saw it. A row of rotting wooden houses half covered in vines. The trees around them bent in strange directions. Time felt slower. But the strangest thing, they could see the town, but none of it appeared on any camera or drone feed. One agent gasped. This place, it's like it's between two worlds. They stepped out, weapons ready. The town was completely silent. Not a single bird, not a single sound. Just wind and whispers. Micah pointed to a large building in the center. That's the church. They bring people there before they change them. Rosa raised a hand. Move in, quiet and slow. As they entered the church, they noticed pews full of mannequins dressed like normal people. But as one agent leaned close, he screamed, "They're not mannequins." He pulled back the shirt of one figure and revealed wires under the skin. These are real people, but hollowed out. Suddenly, the front doors slammed shut. The red marble began glowing inside Micah's backpack. Then a voice echoed through the church, not from speakers, but from the walls themselves. You were warned. You are not ready. A loud rumble shook the ground. The floor of the church opened, revealing a glowing staircase going deep underground. Micah grabbed the cube from his bag. I think this is what it's for, he said. Rosa looked at him. We're going in. As they descended the stairs, they entered a long metallic tunnel. Alien symbols glowed softly along the walls. The deeper they went, the warmer it got. Finally, they reached a door made of black stone, covered in red vines. Micah held up the cube. As soon as it touched the door, click, the stone split in half. Inside was a massive underground chamber with pods, hundreds of them. Each one held a person, asleep, floating in strange blue light. Dalton whispered, "These are the real people, the ones they replaced." Suddenly, the red marble floated out of Micah's bag, spinning fast, glowing bright. Then, a figure stepped out from the shadows. It looked like a man, but his eyes were silver. He smiled and said, "You shouldn't have come, but now that you're here, welcome to the new world." The man with silver eyes stepped into the glowing chamber. Micah stepped back, holding tightly to the cube in his hands. Dalton moved protectively in front of him. Rosa raised her gun, hands up. But the man didn't flinch. He smiled calmly. "You still don't understand, do you?" he said. "These people aren't missing. They're waiting." Rosa looked around the chamber. Hundreds of glass pods, each glowing blue. Inside, real people. Men, women, children, all frozen in place, as if sleeping. Why are they here? Dalton asked. What did you do to them? The silver-eyed man slowly walked around them, never blinking. We didn't harm them, he said. We preserved them. These are the original citizens of Red Pine, before the change. Micah looked at the man with wide eyes. You took my parents. You took their faces. The man turned toward Micah. Yes. But not just theirs. We've been doing this for decades, quietly, carefully. Dalton clenched his fists. Why? What are you? The man smiled wider. We are the future. We are the ones who escaped. Rosa frowned. Escaped from what? Suddenly, the room shifted. The walls flickered, showing images. War, fire, destroyed cities, black skies. Earth, but in ruins. You think this is Earth? The man asked. This is a copy of what once was. We built it after escaping the fall. Micah whispered, You mean we're not on the real Earth? The man shook his head. You are in a shadow of it, a place between realities, a test zone. Everyone froze. Rosa said, And these people? You replaced them with copies. The man nodded. Perfect copies, blending in, watching, preparing. Micah took a step forward. Why me? Why leave me out? The man looked curious. Because your blood is different. You are original, one of the last born from the true line. We couldn't touch you. That cube proves it. He pointed at the metal cube Micah still held. That is not just a key. It is a signal. And now that you're here, they will come. Suddenly, alarms began to ring throughout the base. Red lights flashed. Unknown signal detected. Incoming breach. Gate 1 compromised. Carter shouted into his radio, We need backup now. But there was only static. The silver-eyed man looked around, clearly nervous now. He turned to Micah. What have you done? Micah didn't answer. The cube in his hand began to hum. Then, it opened. A soft blue light rose from inside it, and a voice spoke. Original signal restored. Activating reset protocol. The silver-eyed man shouted, No. He lunged forward, but Rosa fired. He fell back, sparks flying from his chest. Not blood, but wires and light. Dalton grabbed Micah and pulled him toward the exit. Move! Now! Suddenly, the pods around them began to open one by one. Steam filled the chamber. The real people of Red Pine began to wake up, gasping for breath. Rosa and Carter guided them out quickly. We don't have much time, Rosa shouted. But as they reached the stairs, they saw something terrifying. Copies, dozens of them, flooding into the church above. Their eyes glowing red, skin flickering like static. They're trying to shut us in, Carter yelled. Micah turned to Rosa. I think the cube can open another way. Rosa nodded. Do it. Micah held up the cube. It glowed brighter, responding to his touch. Suddenly, a wall at the side cracked open, revealing a glowing portal. The real people, confused and scared, followed Rosa and the agents into the light. Micah was the last to enter, but before he stepped through, he looked back. The silver-eyed man, damaged but alive, sat on the floor, watching. You can't hide forever, he whispered. They're still out there, and they're not alone. Micah stared at him and said quietly, Then I'll find them, and I'll stop them all. And with that, he vanished into the light. The chamber exploded seconds later, burying Red Pine once again under silence. Micah stepped out of the portal and gasped. He wasn't in Red Pine anymore. Around him stood giant white trees glowing with light, tall crystal towers in the distance, and strange flying orbs hovering above the sky. Rosa, Carter, and Dalton helped the townspeople as they stepped out one by one. Many were confused. Some cried. Others just stared in shock. They had escaped the fake world. They were finally free. Micah looked down at the cube in his hand. It was now clear, pulsing softly, alive. Dalton came beside him. Where are we? Rosa answered quietly. I think this is the real Earth, or what's left of it. A soft voice echoed around them, the same one that had spoken from the cube. "Welcome, originals. You have returned." Everyone froze. A tall figure stepped forward. Not human, but close. Its face shimmered like liquid light. Its voice was calm. "I am the Keeper. I guard the real world. And you, Micah, have reactivated the final code." Micah blinked. "What code?" The Keeper pointed to the cube. "That device holds the last trace of humanity's real DNA. The copies replaced most, but not all. You are the key." Micah stepped forward. "Why did they do it? Why did they take my parents?" The Keeper's eyes dimmed. "Because the copies were made by the exiles. Artificial life forms who believed they could rule better than humans. They made fake towns, fake memories, even fake skies. Your parents resisted them, so they were taken." Micah whispered, "Are they still alive?" The Keeper nodded. "They are in the North Vault, deep beneath the exile's stronghold. But the way is dangerous." Micah's hands tightened around the cube. "I'll go." Dalton stepped beside him. "We'll go." Rosa nodded. "We didn't come this far to turn back." Suddenly, the cube projected a map. A red dot blinked far to the north. Micah stared at it. "That's where they are." The Keeper raised a hand, and 3 silver suits floated over to them, light armor with glowing lines. "You'll need these," he said. "They were made for originals." As Micah put the suit on, it felt warm, like it knew him. The Keeper continued, "There is one more thing. The exiles have a leader, the architect. He created the entire fake world. He knows you're coming." Rosa smirked. "Good. Let him wait." The final scene cuts to a massive underground city. Cold, steel, machines walking. At the center sits a tall figure. The architect, his back turned. An exile rushes in. "Sir, the originals? They've escaped." The architect slowly stands. His voice is cold metal. "Then activate every copy. Prepare for war." He turns. His face is the same as Micah's, but without a soul. The camera cuts to black, and one final message appears.